Hey everyone, this is going to be a short one, but I just needed to put this out there. I recognize it's several months after the fact, but this is a part-time hobby for me and I work most of the rest of the time, so, Anyway, let's get right to it. Bald and Bankrupt is a British travel vlogger who journeys all over the world and films his experiences. He's also a poverty tourist, and there's no better example of this than his video about India, a video that I find pretty disturbing and have wanted to talk about for a long time. I think that this video is a great example of shock content that has become increasingly popular on all social media sites. Basically, this content seeks to capitalize on human deviance and suffering. There are many forms that this can take, including videos of mentally ill or drug-addicted people, quote-unquote acting weird in public, CCTV footage of people committing petty crime, body cam footage of people being physically restrained, beaten, or even unalived by cops, and lots of footage of homeless folks in the cities and impoverished folk in the global south.
Oh my god, look at the state of this. How old is this train even? Why is there just rubbish and trash all over the place? Is this not one of the richest countries and richest cities in the world? Why is there a cardboard box there? Oh my god, look at all this chewing gum on the floor. And some more homeless people. What's this even? There's a bike just missing wheels there. What has happened to my country?
The point of these kinds of videos are not to empathize with the subject, who is often filmed without their consent or foreknowledge. We are very seldom told anything about the people on camera beyond the fact that they're deviant in some way, according to a bigoted definition that views mental illness, being black or brown, being dirty, being homeless, or being aggressive as some sort of deviance. We're not encouraged to see a whole person with feelings and identity and dignity. Rather, the point of this content is to encourage the audience to view the subject as some sort of unperson, a nuisance that is getting their comeuppance, a pest. The idea, in other words, is to stigmatize the subject's very existence by rage-baiting the audience. While I don't think that Bald and Bankrupt's video is as dark or violent as some of this content can get, it definitely qualifies as poverty tourism and applies this model to an entire country. Basically, the whole video is an hour's worth of a white dude walking about the most impoverished parts of a developing country, pointing out all the quote-unquote filth and poverty he finds and how unpleasant and yucky it is. I really cannot overstate how much the filth aspect is emphasized in this video. Bald and Bankrupt will not shut up about this. He repeatedly tells us how dirty everything is as he walks about New Delhi and how he's certain he's gonna get sick before long. And Bald loves soaking his hands in sanitizer after he touches anyone or anything throughout the video. It's just like a running joke throughout the first part of the video.
I mean, it's kind of inevitable, but I want to put off the illness as long as possible. Is lots of bloody Dettol hand wash. I keep shaking people's hands. So you'll see me doing this a lot. Dettol break.
In one striking scene, he even spits out food that was offered to him by a kindly old man who was trying to welcome him to the country. He does this just after he's out of eye shot of said person, and it's like really gross.
Oi, धन्यवाद साहब. Oh, ये क्या है?
Sandan.
Oh, Sandar? Wow.
Sandan.
Sangam, thank you. खाना है जी? अच्छा. धन्यवाद साहब. बहुत धन्यवाद. धन्यवाद. क्या? By the way. Not a chance. I'm not getting the shits on my first day.
Again, he's focusing extensively on how dirty and nasty the country is, and it's hard not to see the racial undercurrent of this narrative, namely that some places and peoples are inherently filthy. Now that would be enough on its own, of course, but since Bald is a Brit, he can't help but remind us multiple times throughout the video of the legacy of the British Raj. How everything was clearly so much better when the British occupied India, and how left to their own devices, the Indians have quote-unquote ruined everything.
Look at this, a fine piece of British architecture remaining here. in Shandy Chowk, is it called? Look at it. And a statue, but look how the British building, the windows are broken, the clock has stopped working up there. If you look, we left in India a lot of beautiful architecture and things, and it just went to shit once the British went. That doesn't mean to say that colonialism was necessarily a good thing, but they could at least have kept the good things about it, the beautiful buildings that were built and stuff, the infrastructure. But no, unfortunately, everything fell apart when we left.
At no point in the video do we really get much contextualization for any of these statements. We're never invited to think about any historic reasons why India might suffer from poverty, corruption, sanitation issues, or anything else. We just have an annoying British man saying, wow, everything sucks here, and it was clearly so much better when we were running things, with no evidence at all. Like, was it really better for Indians under British rule? Because it certainly doesn't seem that way. Like, a cursory glance of the history very strongly suggests that that's not true. It was a time of immense turmoil in India, lots of suffering and, like death and war and famines and genocide. Not to mention that at that time, India was essentially administered as a police state, especially after the First World War, where you could basically be arrested for any reason for saying anything that's remotely against the British Raj. I mean, it was a pretty bad time, brutal, awful time. And it's also not difficult at all to see how the problems that India struggles with today are like directly connected to this legacy, and also the obvious, problems that started when Britain partitioned India into Bangladesh and Pakistan, and all of the massive, deadly conflicts that have started because of that. Bald's video is a perfect embodiment of the poverty tourist concept, because one thing that defines these type of videos is their fundamental ignorance and incuriosity for the subject of the video. The vision of these videos is one bereft of trying to understand, one that rejects the idea of challenging preconceived notions. Rather, these videos are deeply invested in the enterprise of vindicating things you're already primed to believe by virtue of living in a society with colonialist and white supremacist proclivities. It basically says, you know that shitty racist thing you've probably heard people say about quote-unquote brown people countries? That thing that you've been encouraged to believe and use as a basis for declaring yourself and your country superior to said countries? Well, you're 100% correct about that, and don't have to evaluate that opinion on any level. In fact, don't even bother to visit these countries or even read up on them at all. Your white supremacist and colonialist preconceived notions are fine and dandy. You don't have to change anything about how you think about these places. And that really sucks, because the ostensible point of a travel channel is to open our eyes to new horizons and different ways of being. A travel vlog helps us to see and explore places we otherwise might not be able to access for various reasons. It can help us to connect with our fellow human beings, develop respect for other cultures, and start to understand how other places may be different and why. But here we see an example of how this genre of video can encourage the opposite, can promote bigotry, ignorance, and the reinforcement of harmful ideas. And it's really not hard to see how this can lead to harmful outcomes. Britain today is overrun with a rising tide of far-right extremists, many of whom espouse these same kinds of beliefs and use them to justify why the UK shouldn't let in immigrants from these quote-unquote bad countries. They also celebrate the history of British imperialism and espouse the belief that life was better for people in places such as India when the British were in control.
And so much, when you think about this little island and the incredible history that we've had, the amazing things that we've done for the world, in the world, be it innovation, be it development, you could even argue the spread of Christianity, so many things that we've done. Genuinely to help people, and yet our kids are being told everything about our past is poisonous.
We can also see similar trends in various Western countries, most prominently in the United States. This is why I wanted to make this video, because we mustn't allow narratives like the one in Balt's India video to go unchallenged. Videos like this should be stigmatized because they are fundamentally lazy, hateful, and exploitative. India is a place with many problems, but it's also full of history, amazing food, and a plethora of different peoples and cultures. And most importantly, if you hate it so much, you don't need to go there. Like, there's absolutely no reason that Bald and Bankrupt had to go to India. It's not like he didn't have a choice. He decided to go there because he knew he could get clicks and make money off of people's poverty and suffering. And he knew that there's a growing fan base of racist misanthropes who would gobble up his poverty tourist trash. Like, imagine being British and having the gall to judge other countries when your nation is presently an alt-right post-Brexit trash fire. Britain today, it's like if someone watched Brazil and took it as an instruction manual on how to structure society. They were like, that's really cool, let's make that a reality. Alright, so I was gonna end the video at this point, but there's a bit more to say. Some of you, particularly if you're a fan of Bald and Bankrupt, might have taken offense to some of the things I said, especially at the beginning of the video, where I liken his India video to police violence content, or content that shames unhoused folk. Admittedly, it does sound like kind of a stretch, or like I'm grasping at straws when I say something as controversial as that. So I think it's important to elaborate on this idea a bit more. This kind of content is basically designed to focus on dysfunction, to highlight and stigmatize deviance. Bald's video might not set out to do this exact thing, but the effect it achieves with India and Indians more broadly is the same. The point is just to use the video's subject as a scapegoat, a representation of all that is wrong or immoral in the eyes of the video maker and by extension in the eyes of the audience. Basically, the objective is to laugh at the subject, to make fun of them, to belittle them, and portray them as a nuisance, a problem that needs to be excised or shunned. We see this over and over again in Bald's video, particularly with the various people that he chooses to include in the video, most of whom of course probably don't know who Bald and Bankrupt is, or that the video is going to be viewed by millions of people.
Wow. There's a very drunk man on the street, a very drunk man. He's had too much Desi Daru. Come on then. There we go. Careful with him.
Thanks to the guy behind the camera and his mocking comments, the people we see in the video are often made to appear as one-dimensional characters, to depict India as a whole as a dirty, bad, deviant place. Certainly, the clearest case of India being depicted as a deviant place in the whole video is when Bald literally just states that Indians don't act like normal people, or that India is not a normal country, as opposed to the Czech Republic, say, or other Soviet countries, as he calls them.
60 quid. 60 quid! I can literally stay in Prague, a normal city with normal people, for 60 quid. In a clean room, in a clean hotel. Not with this outside of it.
And this sort of servile hostility is present throughout the whole film. And alongside all the annoying rambles about how great things were in India when the British were running things, it becomes hard not to notice a racial undercurrent throughout Bald's vlog. So even though it's not as explicit as far-right propaganda, we still have this articulation of a hierarchy where there's these weird, not normal people, and then there's people like Bald and Bankrupt, essentially people who are clear-headed and normal, who can see through the weirdness and call it for what it is, who can use their sarcasm and biting wit to highlight the absurdity of this deviant situation. And that right there is exactly what all the reactionary, anti-homeless, racist, anti-queer content online does. It says to the audience, we're cool and normal. And these folks over there, the other, they're not. This is a transparent articulation of power, of a hierarchy that is white supremacist, colonial, patriarchal, queerphobic, etc. Again, the really important thing here is the message itself, not the political persuasions of the messenger. It doesn't really matter if Bald and Bankrupt himself is like a consciously far-right person. What matters is that his video reaffirms a narrow-minded and racist frame of mind that predominates the mainstream of Western culture. It leans into the same stereotypes and racist inclinations that many people in places like Britain already hold about places like India, and does not encourage people to think outside of their preconceived ideas of the world or to interrogate them critically in any way. On the contrary, the whole point of this video is to reinforce those bigoted ideas. So I gotta be honest and say I don't really have a nice way to tie this all up in a neat bow. I felt compelled to make this video because I have been watching a market upswing in this kind of content for some time, and I wanted to call it out. Even if these videos can seem innocuous or just a bit of tongue-in-cheek fun to the casual observer, these types of videos are a dangerous medium for the normalization and reinforcement of toxic and hateful attitudes that have a corrosive effect on our understanding of the world around us. And I wanted to talk about Bald specifically because the lazy so-called apoliticalness of his videos really touches on how varied and nuanced this genre can be. It doesn't have to be a guy literally advocating for draconian immigration laws or white supremacist ideas. It can literally just be some jerk off with a camera and some semblance of a sense of humor. And at the end of the day, it isn't like we can stop this stuff, unfortunately. And really, my goal isn't to stop Bald and Bankrupt. I'm not trying to cancel anybody, because that's not a real thing. The point here is really to draw attention to something, to call it out, to really encourage people to be more critical about this kind of message in media, particularly in media that's exposing you to foreign cultures and to other ways of being. Unfortunately though, this kind of content, that what I like to call sort of shame content, it's sprouted into a veritable ecosystem of profitable channels, Insta-Reel accounts, TikToks, and all the rest. Really, all I or any other creator can do about this content is call it out and encourage people to think about it more, and not let the message of this video sort of go without a second look. Because this kind of stuff is harmful, and confronting that harmfulness is important. Anyway, thanks for hearing me out. I'm sure this will be received incredibly well by everyone involved, and nobody's gonna lose their head over this. Like and subscribe, and I'll see ya later. Oh, and also, if you want, you can donate to my Ko-fi. Get me a cappuccino, get me a coffee. Yeah, you can do it. Go do it. Go sign up. Go give me some money. Please, please. Okay, bye.